let's talk to Clare Page. She's a parent looking for transparency in schools on this. Good morning to you, Clare.
Hi, morning.
I mean, thank you for joining us. Now, you've basically, single-handedly taking on this massive institution. We're talking about trust in institutions in defence of your daughter's education, basically looking, at what kids are being taught. And the main issue here is that most parents are gloriously unaware of the stuff their kids are being taught in school and the literature they're seeing.
Yes, of course. I think mainly because parents, they trust their schools to be fairly moderate, and they remember their own sex education and the culture in their own schools, and they expect it to be very similar.
Yeah.
And I think parents like to trust their schools and their teachers. And so there's, not many questions are asked and an assumption is made. And
when my daughter was in primary school, it never occurred to me to ever question what sex education she'd be getting.
Well, exactly. And I think also quite a lot of this material is quite cleverly wrapped up in other things as well, so that it looks fairly kind of innocuous on the outside, but that actually when you drill into it, it's got a lot of messaging that's quite, subliminal.
Well, Grandad's Pride is classic there. It's a cartoon book. It's lovely pictures and everything, and it's written by Harry Woodgate. He's a Waterstones Children's Book Prize winning author and illustrator. What's not to like? Except the fact I'm thinking, does my 3 or 4-year-old need to know about gay granddads? I wouldn't be discussing that Grandad was straight. I can certainly remember my daughter would have been aware that we had friends over who were gay, and I remember saying, oh, that's his husband, and my daughter saying, how can he be married to a man? Yes, men can get married and women can get married to each other. She went, oh, OK. That was the end of the conversation. It needed no more explanation than that. But the idea that anyone would think, A, it was a good idea to write and illustrate, B, to publish, C, to send to schools a book in which you've got men semi-naked men in bondage and suspenders as something that children should learn about because it's inclusive. Frankly, I think those people need help.
Well, they're essentially putting their own interests before safeguarding of children.
Yeah.
I think common sense says we keep sexualized imagery away from children because we understand that that's a shared safeguarding action, so that children aren't used to sexualized presentations, and then of course they can spot when those sexualized presentations aren't very good for them, and say,
oh, hold on a minute, I don't feel comfortable here, and that's the red flag. But of course, if it's been normalized to them in the classroom with their teacher, they won't spot that red flag.
Absolutely. But I think there's something actually more going on with this book, and in a way what I find more troubling actually is the trans signaling that's happening in there. So for example, I think the book ends with the words trans kids are magic, and then it also has a picture of a trans man bearing their mastectomy scars as well.
Yeah.
This is something that hasn't been picked up so much on.
A healthy woman who has cut off her perfectly healthy breasts.
That's right.
And we're supposed to be celebrating that to 4-year-olds. That seems normal.
Exactly. And, the kids are hugely impressionable. Yeah. And obviously the book's presenting something of a party and a wonderful time. And so this, kids being magic is very attractive to them. And so actually this is manipulative.
Yeah. And it's about, isn't it, about the trans thing being, again, people talk about trans kids. There's no such thing as a trans kid, I would say. There are children who have been taught about that they think that their gender isn't a thing. You're not born in the wrong body. That's not a thing. People can have gender dysphoria where they believe that they have been born in the wrong. It doesn't make it an actual thing. And we may, as adults, say, look, you want to live your life how you want to live your life, change your name, where you change your clothing. That's fine. It doesn't affect anyone else. But there's a difference there from that. And a difference to telling children, anyone could be born in the wrong body. There are 82 genders, and being trans makes you interesting and, as you say, magic, because that is when you are, you're literally telling children, hey, maybe you should be trans.
Well, absolutely. I think it is indoctrinating is the word. And what you've just described, I probably share that view. But, it doesn't really matter if people have a different view and are actually very sure about trans identity being a very real thing. And what we need to kind of get back to is schooling which is impartial on these matters, because that's what protects children.
Oh, now should it be impartial? I recently actually did attend a sort of sex education sort of session for parents to discuss what they wanted their kids to learn in the secondary school at my daughter's school, and we discussed this, and I said, I don't think that it should be impartial. I think the school should teach that there are two genders. I think they should teach biological fact.
Well, I'm absolutely certain about that too. I mean, but you see, that is a fact. Biological sex, for example, is a fact. The word gender is a very sort of clever construct that takes us into a sort of a world that we can argue in endlessly.
Yeah.
And that puts us in a parallel world where nothing's certain, and therefore we end up with just whoever does the most talking and the most influencing of our children seems to win. And I think we absolutely should get back to fact, and that is the first job of the school, is to pass on the fact that there are only two biological sexes, with a few developmental conditions related to that, but that if you really need that fact for children. But
and four.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's the. But I think, as you say, we started at this point. Most parents are completely unaware of what is really going on. And the key thing is, ask your school what they are teaching your child. You ask to see all of the information that they are giving them. And I think most parents will be really quite shocked to find out what their children are being told.
Yes, I agree. And I think all parents should ask. I think they should make their formal complaints if they want to. But I think we actually have to look up to government here and ask them to do something for us. I'm actually pressing for an amendment to the Education Act, which asks for all school resources to be published somewhere. Doesn't have to be by the school, but published, citable, so that you can refer to it in a formal complaint setting, we should be able to kind of point that out to anyone, from the press to go to court if we really need to. These are serious matters, actually. RSE is touching profound issues.
Yeah, absolutely. And again,
to act on that.
It is interesting also that Gillian Keegan, the Education Secretary, has said, that the guidance on dealing with trans pupils at schools isn't going to be law, it's going to be guidance. So you're going to be in a situation again where, a teacher or pupil can be, a teacher could be sacked or disciplined, a pupil could be disciplined for refusing to say, I accept that this person who's quite clearly a boy is a girl. I mean, or the other way around. We are in very, very strange territory, Claire, and I really appreciate you standing up on this issue. Clare Page is just an ordinary parent seeking transparency in schools.